cry, don't cry. Hi everyone, I have a hair.
Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about our birth story, how it went, and maybe give you guys some advice along the way.
I didn't look at the camera and jump right in his mouth anyway.
Let's jump right into it.
We can't jump right into it because we got a baby.
We had a birth plan and we printed it out, we gave it to the nurse, and it seemed like she just kind of put it off to the side and...
No, she definitely did. She grabbed it and put it up there.
Yeah.
Up on the shelf.
And she didn't really take what I wanted into consideration. So I got induced. No matter how you feel about that or your feelings, you can put it aside because that's what me and my family chose to do. So I was 40 weeks and 5 days. Ow, ow. They started my Pitocin at 8 a.m. and shortly afterwards she broke my water, and it was very bizarre to me because, you know, obviously I had done a lot of research before I had went in for my induction, so I knew pretty much that I wanted to wait as long as I could to get my water broken. I remember asking her, like, is it possible that we could wait to break my water? She basically told me that it wasn't gonna make a difference. So I went with what she said because she's the doctor and I'm not. So I wanted to trust them with everything, so I did. And was that a mistake? So advice number one, I would go with your instinct and definitely do your research. Of course, go by what the doctor says, but try to make it your own and personal because it's something that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. So she comes back and she checks me, and the nurse realizes that she didn't break my water all the way, and this was before I had an epidural, so it was pretty uncomfortable. I mean, it wasn't painful, but it definitely was uncomfortable, and so it was kind of irritating that they had to do it again, but I know, you know, not everything is perfect. So anyways, they did have to break my water a second time, and after that happened, I still wasn't dilating, so I was definitely getting very nervous. The nurses tell me that I can get my epidural, but I wanted to wait as long as possible to get my epidural because I didn't want to get it too soon because I didn't want it to wear off or anything crazy like that. So I asked them how many centimeters dilated I was. I wanted to know before I got the epidural. That would determine whether or not I wanted to get the epidural. They told me that they wouldn't check me, but they basically tried to tell me that I was probably dilated more and that I should go ahead and get the epidural because the contractions were definitely getting stronger, but I was handling them pretty well. I think I was.
You were.
So anyway, so I ended up getting the epidural. For me, I just felt like they knew that I was going to end up with a C-section, so they wanted the whole process to go faster. But my midwife, she wasn't my original midwife. I should probably add that. I had a wonderful midwife my entire pregnancy, and at the last minute, they had to go out of town, and so I had to pick another one, and it was just a big mess. And anyways, she was the last midwife. It was almost like she was overworked. She looked very overworked, she looked very tired, she looked very irritable, she did not look happy to be there, and that made me feel very stressed out.
Another thing that we forgot to mention is that when you first go to the hospital, you sign paperwork when you first check in. And basically they ask you if students would be allowed to go in or interns and all that kind of stuff. So we signed that we didn't want anybody in the room besides, you know, the necessary doctors that we needed to be there. When our midwife first comes in, you know, after we signed the paperwork, the very first thing she says is, hey, we got so-and-so with us. She's an intern. Would it be okay if she sits in with me today?
She was already in the room at that time.
Yeah, she was already in the room, so we could, with your legs wide open.
Yeah,
like,
so it's like, what are you gonna do now? You know, like,
we weren't just gonna be like, no, she can't come in here.
Yeah.
No. Get out.
Should have, and that comes to another point.
Let the doctors walk over you. That's
Yes.
another thing. Don't let them do what they want to do going forward.
I was terrified to get my epidural, but thank God my anesthesiologist, he was wonderful, and he talked me through everything, and it did not hurt like I expected it to. And that was honestly a breeze compared to everything else. Once I got my epidural, I was feeling great. Get that epidural. If you're thinking about it, get it. But I got it, and it started to wear off 2 or 3 times probably.
Yep, you could move your legs, she could move around, she could lift her leg.
I could feel contractions, and that's just not what I wanted. I wanted the full epidural. I did not want to feel anything. I wanted to maybe feel a little bit of pressure if I was going to be pushing, but that was about it, and I could just feel contractions, so I had to get the epidural redone.
So going forward after that, you were having pain, so they gave you something for pain. You said you didn't want it to be any kind of narcotic or anything that's going to alter your mind to where you wouldn't remember the experience.
Don't really remember much after this point. That's how I know they didn't even read my birth plan, because I specifically stated in there I didn't want anything other than the epidural, even if I was in pain. And they basically took it as, oh, she's in pain, she needs medication. And that's exactly what they did. They just pumped medication through my IV.
And this is where I come into play. A couple hours go by. She was loopy, she was out of it. It wasn't very fun to watch her like that at all. So 2 hours go by. She comes back in and she checks her. She basically tells us that Wilder passed a bowel movement inside of her. So she's basically at risk for infection if she checks the more times that she checks her. So they were already trying to push a C-section at this point. They were like, well, we need to start talking about your options other than just having a vaginal birth. We were like, you know, we were confused, like, what do you mean? Like, we're not even like 8 hours in. We said, no, we're gonna wait it out. And she said, okay, well, we'll give it 2 more hours and then we'll come back and see how you're feeling. Which, at that point, I already knew. I wasn't happy with the situation. We hit the 2-hour mark of when our midwife came in previously, and she goes, so are you guys ready to make a decision? And, you know, we still weren't ready. We needed some alone time to actually talk about it, because our midwife explained that it was, you know, more serious than we thought. We're all hysterical. We're crying. This is exactly what we didn't want to happen, you know. So we come to the conclusion, and before we do, we ask our nurse.
She's the one that I trusted the most at this point, which is honestly awful. Like, you should be able to trust your doctor, but I trusted her more than I trusted anybody else, any of the other doctors. So I remember asking her, like, what do you think that I should do? And she was like, sweetie, you aren't dilating. Like, you could have your baby in 20 minutes, laying in your arms. You'll be able to still hold him. You'll be able to do skin to skin. You'll be able to breastfeed right away. Everything that I would be able to do during a vaginal birth, she said that would be able to happen during my C-section.
At that point, I asked her if we would be separated at all, and if I would still be able to cut the cord. And she said, oh no, you guys will not be separated at all. Basically what will happen is we'll get everything ready, we'll start prepping you to go to the OR, and you will not leave her side, and you will be able to still cut the cord. It'll basically be the same exact procedure. They will clip the cord from her. What they said is they would take him to the incubator, and then I would be able to clip the cord from him. And that's how that would work. And I said, okay, please tell whoever needs to know, like, tell them I want to be able to cut the cord.
Yeah, that was very important.
It was very important. So we start prepping up, and they start getting everything ready. They pumped her up with a little bit more medicine to bring her in, and that she would be comfortable, even though they didn't tell her, but that's what they told me. The midwife comes in, 3 other nurses come in, and they're all getting everything ready, and they tell me, okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take her and get her ready in the room, get her situated, and you're going to wait here, and it's going to just be about 5 minutes. And I stopped them and I said, whoa, well, our nurse said that, you know, we weren't going to get separated. She's like, this is just standard procedure. This is just what has to happen. So they take her away, and I'm freaking out at this point. 5 minutes goes by, and at this point I'm like, okay, come on, like, you know, you said it's going to be 5 minutes. Like, each minute that goes by, I'm freaking out. She's in an operation room by herself. 10 minutes goes by. And I'm like, okay, seriously, 10 minutes has gone by, I'm still not in there. Like, she's still in there by herself. I don't know what they're doing. I'm freaking out. 15 minutes go by, and I'm like, okay, something's up. Like, I start to turn around to go ask a nurse, and then I hear the door open behind me, and it's the midwife. And I turn around, and she looks at me like, uh-oh, I made a mistake. Like, I forgot him out here. That's exactly how she looked at me, with big, wide eyes. She said, oh, come with me. Oh, come with me, is what she said. So I get in, and I talk to Nick, that's her anesthesiologist, and I'm like, hey, you guys haven't started yet, right? You know, you told me that you wouldn't start without me, and they were like, actually, we started about 10 minutes ago. And I was like, what? Wow, that's awesome. And at this point, I'm realizing that rap music is playing in the background. I love rap music, but it's just a weird scene.
I remember when they were rolling me into the OR, Rockstar by Post Malone was playing, and it was so bizarre. I was like, is Garrick playing his music? I was like, what is going on?
So I come in and it's some song that I don't even know. I don't even know what it was, but it was rap music. I kind of just let it slide because there was more important things at the top of my brain. That was way at the back. I could barely even hear it because everything was going so fast. So I come in and they got, you know, the curtain up and everything. I can't see anything. The only thing I can see is her. So I go up to her and I hold her hand and
so happy you were
I basically just asked her, like, are you okay? You know, do you need anything? Like, can I do anything? Even though at this point, really, you can't really do much. I was just trying to be comforting as best as I could.
You were so comforting.
I tried. So I started to hear power tools. And she starts screaming out in pain, basically screaming bloody murder, like on the top of her lungs that, you're going to break my ribs, you're going to break my ribs. I thought you said I can't feel anything. And right at that moment, Nick turned around, put something into her IV, and she just completely shut down. She started wailing her hands around like this, like trying to grab everything that she could. She was saying, babe, babe, please, babe, babe. She was calling out to me. I was freaking out. I turned to Nick and I said, is she gonna be okay? He put his hand on my shoulder and just said, just relax, just wait, she'll calm down. She'll be alright. Every few minutes or so, she like gets out of her trance or whatever, like the deep sleep, and like starts to grab stuff and pulls the oxygen mask out of her nose a few times. She tries to pull the curtain down and then just stops, and like me and Nick are holding her hands down, and then he pumped her with another dose of medication, and then she was out for basically the rest of the time. At this point, after she's out, they tell me that I can stand up and watch the rest of the procedure if I would like to. So I was like, yeah, I want to see this. Like, I haven't been able to see anything else or do anything else, so yeah, let's do it. When I stand up, I notice that the person doing her procedure is the intern that our midwife brought in from the very beginning. So I was like, at that point, I was so mad, but I didn't know what to say. Like, what are you supposed to say at this point?
It all happened so fast, too.
Yeah, everything just happened so quickly. You have so much going through your mind, like, oh my god, anything can go wrong at this point. It's just a million things that go through your mind, and if you haven't been through this, you don't know.
Some people are like, you're exaggerating. Like,
we're not exaggerating whatsoever. I'll never forget this until I die. One thing that I saw that is, it's normal in this particular procedure, but it was scary to me because it's not what I had imagined at all. I probably should have watched a few C-sections. We watched a lot of just like regular vaginal births to be prepared for that, but definitely be prepared for the worst.
Yeah, we probably should have been prepared for both. However, on my birth plan, in case I had a C-section, I did have that I wanted Garrick to cut the cord. I did have that I didn't want any other drugs, which I guess was out of their hands at that point because I could feel like the medication obviously wasn't working, so they did have to put me under. But there was just so many things that I wanted to go as planned that could have gone as planned. You could have easily cut the cord.
Yeah. Finally, I start seeing like what looks to me like a head. They started off with a suction. They basically stuck it on his head and tried to pull it, suction to his head, and they tried to use that to pull him out more. That wasn't working, so they stuck their hands in and, they grab him from right here and they pull him in. And if you haven't seen it before, it's, it's terrifying. It's like, whoa, you're gonna hurt him. And at that point, like, I'm thinking the worst. They're gonna break his neck, they're gonna hurt him, they're gonna puncture his skin or something. I don't know, it just looked, the way they do it, it's just so aggressive. They finally get his head out and he's not moving, he's not doing anything. For some reason, my image of how a birth should go is that in movies, like, he comes out and he screams instantly. That's the way I pictured it, which is, I guess, pretty ignorant of me.
I think it's different with C-section.
Yeah. So they get him out and they cut the cord and he doesn't cry, he doesn't scream, he doesn't move, he doesn't do anything, and I'm literally freaking out. She's unconscious, he's limp. Felt like I was gonna come home by myself. I'm getting tears right now thinking about it, but like, the worst thing that I could possibly think could happen, I thought was happening. I pictured the worst. I just thought of the worst. So they bring him over to the incubator and he's still not showing any signs of anything. Like, no signs of life, nothing. Another nurse comes over and she does something to him. I don't know what she did, but he was fine. They tell me that I'm gonna go with him to the nursery and I'll probably be there for maybe an hour. I was going to ask if I could cut the cord. If it's time to cut the cord, one of the nurses just goes ahead and does it. And I was like, I turn around to take a picture. The same nurse, and I even had it live. In the live photo, it says, are you sure Zoe would, and like stops because it's only like a second long. And what she said to me was, are you sure Zoe wants you to take pictures? And I said, yes, she would love pictures of this experience because she's not aware for it. She goes, are you sure? Because she told me specifically that she didn't want any pictures.
No, Never
We never said that. Not one time.
And even if I was delirious or whatever, which I was, and didn't remember saying that, he was with me the entire time, so he would have known if I would have
never said that.
And I did not say that.
And we had taken pictures all throughout the entire process,
videos,
up until the
pictures,
C-section.
Yeah.
Why would they try to act like they know my wife more than me to say that she wouldn't want pictures? I don't know. That makes me mad. It's time to go to the nursery, and she tells me that Zoe will wake up about the time that I come back into the room so she can do skin to skin with Wilder. That was not the case. I was gone for about twice as long as they said that we would be gone.
From this point, I do remember waking up alone in the OR. Nobody was around. I was in so much pain, the most pain that I've ever been in my entire life.
I finally get back to my wife.
I stated on my birth plan that if I was to have to be put under, I wanted Garrick to hold him first. That was not the case.
I wouldn't say they wouldn't necessarily let me hold them, but like they didn't give it an opportunity. They didn't give me a chance.
I feel like most doctors would be like, hey, you just had a baby, like,
do you
here you
hold
go.
Your son? Do you want to hold him?
Yeah.
And
we just put Wilder to bed, by the way. He was anxious for some bedtime.
Yep. She was thirsty, so she looks at me and she says, thirsty, like all delirious. I look at the nurse and I ask her, I say, can she have anything to drink? And she looked at the other nurse and they basically shrugged their shoulders and said, I guess it'd be alright. Well, she was just guzzling water, and not even maybe 2 minutes later she throws up. They were like, okay, well, we'll stop on the water for a while. I feel like they waited a little longer than they should have to finally let her hold Wilder. They did, you know, she was still crying because she's in pain, but when we finally gave her Wilder, she's, you know, it was a different kind of love cry. And it was emotional. We were in the recovery room for maybe an hour.
Like the time we were in our recovery room to the time we were in our postpartum room, I got no alone time with him. Like Garrick and I didn't really get any time with him to ourselves, which really that wasn't our family's fault, obviously. Like they didn't give us enough time, I feel like,
to bond with him ourselves.
Yeah.
We finally get out of the recovery room and they send us to our postpartum room. We're so hungry, we're tired.
That first meal after you have a baby is
man.
Perfect.
We get in there, you know, everybody's already ready to start passing Wilder around, which we basically were against that from the beginning. Like, I personally don't think it's good to just hand your baby right off to every person in the room as soon as he comes out. It's just too much.
Yeah,
for the baby.
In our opinion, like you guys can have your own opinion, but that was just
and you know, I loved our family being there. Like it was definitely extra support and everybody was awesome. You know, we have no complaints with that whatsoever. We love our family. If we had to do it again, I would definitely wait at least a couple days, if not until we got home.
It was a lot for us.
It was very traumatizing and it was very tiring. And
every pregnancy and labor and delivery experience is different. So maybe our next will be completely different, but I definitely would have wanted more alone time with our son before, you know, all of our family started coming. And again, that's nothing against them. We didn't know the feelings that we were going to have until he came.
Right.
For
exactly.
Sure.
100%.
So advice to you guys is I would definitely take the time to bond with your baby because you'll never get that time, that specific time back, ever. Definitely take at least some time to you, your significant other, and your baby.
I just remember feeling like, you know, give me my baby back, like we just had him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was very grateful to have everybody there and have so much support, and have so much love, and just that he has so many people, yes.
If your significant other can take some time off, definitely try to do that, because if I wouldn't have had Garrick there, I honestly don't know how I would have been able to take care of Wilder on my own, because I could barely take care of myself after having the C-section. So yeah, definitely take advantage of the help. If you're pregnant, planning to become pregnant, or you're about to have your baby, definitely take into consideration that you have a say in your birth, whether or not you have a C-section or you deliver vaginally. Do not let anybody, whether it's doctors, family members, or anything, run over you. Go with your gut instinct and it'll all work out. That was our story, and that is something that we will never forget. And we do wish it went, you know, a little bit differently, but we can't complain because Wilder is healthy and alive, and so am I. So yeah. Okay guys, if you like this video and want to see more, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys in our next video. Bye. Bye.
My baby pukes. Does yours? Every baby pukes. Oh, I didn't know.
Shut up.
Go ahead. Go ahead, you're good.
Higher.
Higher. Higher. Higher. Did you try to say like hi everyone in one word? Higher. You think that's funny? Is that funny?